second, getting back on here. All right, so.
I sent, Ray, I sent Leon Hughes.
Yep.
Oh, he's in? Is he in?
Let me see here.
No, because it says not joined, but I sent him the invite.
Okay. So I just text him to see. He's
Okay.
going to join. When he comes in, then just send him over.
All right.
Okay, cool. So how you guys doing? Can we hear me? Yes.
I'm doing good.
Good seeing your faces, a lot of new faces, some old faces. Just want to welcome you guys to our first virtual meeting. Me and Carmen, we've been preparing some great things for you guys, but we want to create some relevant things for you in the class. You know, as we teach, we realize every year you get a different batch of kids, and you have to, every plan might not work for that kid, so you have to change it up a little bit. So what we wanted to do is structure this concept, this PD, more around what the relevancy, connecting the dots, so we can get our kids more engaged, because sometimes they start off high and then they just fall down. So we want to learn some strategies to build them back up, do coding, do that whole process. Carmen, you want to share that?
Yep. All right, so going from our best practices, we're into our group. Oh.
Perfect.
All right. So again, one of the things that Ray and I do in different ways, but both for the same point, for tracking our progress in our classroom, I like to use Google Calendar just because it's easy for me to have it on my phone and readily available for all my courses and my personal life. And I know Ray likes to use the Canvas one for the Startup Tech course. So having a calendar that breaks down all the assignments, what's expected, what's coming up, really helps students obviously maintain their products. And also one of the differences we have is that I teach Startup Tech with my 6th graders. I teach in a 6 through 12 environment. So I have
All right, so what you guys just watched was the Lemonade production video, and it was a good opportunity for you guys to see this in action. What the students are actually learning is the value of production and an effective production line. You see how that when there were more people, they were less efficient. One of the rules is that the ball has to be touched by both hands. There's a particular way that it has to be handled, and that's something that's very important for students to understand as part of the production process. You can't cheat that. So in this process, they started getting a lot of questions about, well, then what is the right way to handle this production line? And these are the instructions for the game here. And it was terribly interesting because I saw this, I actually participated in this at the workshop. And for students, they even had to learn that they got, for every lemon that got passed successfully, they earned a profit, and everyone that didn't make it, they actually lost. So these were some very important lessons that they learned using the investigation stage of this process.
So I think that's really important while you're looking at that as well, to think about when we talk about the lesson cycle, the purpose of the lesson cycle is not just to do the entrepreneurial investigation, but it's the entrepreneurial investigation infused with the entrepreneurial mindset. So it's really, really important there too to see how students combine those skills while practicing the entrepreneurial mindset as they're going through it. So when you debrief and you give students an opportunity to reflect and have discussion about, what they participated in, number one, it really gives them a context, right? Because we want students to be able to relate to the information and still have the context in which it is applicable to their everyday lives. So that was a great experience when we're focusing on something like communication and collaboration. It could also be a great experience if we're doing something like risk taking, right? Or opportunity recognition. So seeing how that entrepreneurial mindset is embedded and threaded through the entire process is a great opportunity for students. One of the things that I did, because I also attended a Ray's session over the summer with Alexis, is I also looked at how can I apply the lessons and the best practices that I'm learning in NFTE and embed my core content areas and even some of the things that we do to strengthen our programs. And so this, even though we're talking about lemonade production, we talk about profits and we talk about losses, we also do Six Sigma at my school. And so this was an excellent opportunity for students to be able to identify waste and bottlenecking and what that looks like. So even giving them additional vocabulary and building skills that they can use while they're in the classroom and putting it into action as you're going through an investigation to then set up the foundation stage was really, really, really beneficial. So think about it in terms of how are we then building, if we are doing a lesson cycle, how are we building up the skills that our students will need to be able to sustain us going forward?
Exactly. Thank you, Brooke. I added this page in because I feel like it speaks to exactly what you're talking about with Six Sigma, where these students got the opportunity to actually assess risk and waste and things of this nature. This document, this page here that Ray uses for his can easily be altered for whatever it is that you need to use it for so that students can get from it what you needed them to get. So this is just an example of how he used it. Now, this next example is another entrepreneurial investigation. The next few that I'm going to take you through, because I wanted to take you guys through an investigation and the foundation and the lab, take you through all of those with one concept. So part of the Lemonade Challenge was he did the pH assessment where they had to get the correct pH for their lemonade, which I thought was a great way to introduce, and it's his STEM class, so it was great to bring in science and math into this challenge. This particular investigation is one that Ray did not use. I actually wrote it myself to go with this because I wanted to take one concept all the way through the lesson cycle, okay? And I hit next. There it is. Okay, so I call this one the Lemonade pH experiment. And the idea is essentially a way to introduce how he could have introduced this pH experiment to his students, which would have, was to provide each student with, well, each group of students with a different instruction for their mixtures, so that they could recognize that there were differences in pH. So somebody may have gotten, you see here, I put 2 cups of water, 3 lemons, and a half a cup of sugar. Someone else got a cup of sugar, 4 lemons, and 3/4 of a cup of sugar. And by however many variations of that you need. And then the groups are allowed to use test strips to assess the pH of their particular mixture. What that does is introduce a lot of questions to our students that allows them, it's great for that investigation stage so that they can get into the foundation stage where they start answering those questions. I actually added in, because I'm really big on feedback in my classes, an extension to this. If someone wanted to use it, which would allow them to actually have their classmates test it so that they could get feedback from their classmates on not only, because they can't taste the pH, but what tastes good to them. This becomes good marketing research for students, because for this challenge, they actually had to sell their product. The next part, which would be the foundation, remember this is where they get answers to those questions that they just got all these questions from the pH experiment. My pH was high, mine was low. What do I need to do to fix that? What's the optimal range? Things of that nature. These are YouTube videos that were provided by Ray, and I won't have us watch them now because I know we're on a time schedule here, but these were YouTube videos where the students were able to go out and actually start finding answers to those questions, like what is the optimal pH level for the body, for lemonade, and things of that nature. And this is where these are some of his slides where they're learning about pH. And you'll see he's talking about alkaline water and the strengths of acids and bases. He went into a lot of detail on this. And then we get into the lab portion of it, where the students actually go back now and instead of being given the ingredients or the recipe, they get to make adjustments to the recipe themselves, and they test their own theories of what will get them the next pH, the proper pH level. This is the lab portion where the students get to apply what they've learned. Are there any questions about any of that? I know that was fast. It was a lot. Do you need to add anything?
So I think it's also important when we're talking about the lesson cycle, if you back up for me.
Sure. Tell me when to stop.
One more. Okay, right here. So if we're looking at it and we're talking about the lesson cycle, we talk about the investigations, and then we talk about the foundation. So think about it again as we're planning. A lot of us, we've adopted or ascribed to the gradual release model, and you really can look at this as being a modification of the gradual release model as you are doing it, right? So I'm giving students an investigation. I'm walking them through it with foundations. I'm doing some direct instruction with them. And then I am allowing them, if I'm looking at my lab models, then to do it on their own. So I'm scaffolding out my instruction.
Different be an approach, but let them know that you noticed it.
Yeah. And also I had like, for me, I keep little like things in the classroom. I would slide them a lunch pass and put a little note on it. Hey, you did a really good job today on these codes. Here, take a free lunch pass. Wow, I get to skip the line. Yes. So little things like that, it builds a little, a little more spirit for the kids to move forward on the end product of coding.
All right, so we move forward.
Yes.
Ray, just as
Yes.
a FYI, Mr. Leon Hughes,
Uh-huh.
I invited over, but he's never accepted the invitation. So you might want to let him know that the invite has been sent,
Okay.
that he needs to just accept the invitation.
Okay, right. And since we have Abel waiting, I'd like to try to keep him on his time frame. I told him for 5:45. So let's switch these slides around a little bit. We're going to go to Abel and let him present to you guys. Ladies and gentlemen, we brought in 2 presenters for you. And we're going to have a link to the 3rd presenter who wasn't able to come in with us. So we would like to give you a little time where you're going to be able to hear from people from industry, so we're looking at professionals, to bring you what they do and how what we do is going to tie into their positions. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Abel. He was an engineering student many years ago and always had a keen eye for coding and always went above and beyond what was available to him within the high school environment, but continued to do it on his own and was quite successful at it. So I'd like to bring him in and have him talk. And I'll bring in his slides so that we can see them, and then I'll flip back and forth real quick.
Hey guys, thanks, Ms. Garcia.
So here
Can
we
you
go.
guys hear me okay?
I got you there.
Do you guys hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, everything here.
Perfect.
Go ahead.
All right, whenever you're ready. Do you have the slide deck there?
Yes, I do. It's on.
All right. So my name is Abel Duarte. As Ms. G said, I used to be a high school student in her class. I started programming for the Mac platform when I was really little, about 11 years old. I continued on with that, doing iOS development when the iPhone came out. You know, it was the coolest gadget while I was in high school. So, you know, it had just come out during that time frame. Since then, I've basically gone off to continue doing that, working for quite a few companies. Amongst those, Univision, Right now, I'm working for Spirit Airlines, and previously I was at Royal Caribbean. So yeah, I have about 10 years of experience basically building out iOS apps professionally. So
Okay.
next slide. Yep. So what Ray said kind of ties in a lot with the information I put for app prototyping. So at Royal Caribbean, we use a model called the crawl versus run model. Basically, you focus on, when building a new product, you focus on achieving small wins rather than, you know, trying to complete huge task or release a major product. You kind of start out small. So the way that can they start building out features catered to the user and how they're actually using the applications rather than focusing on just trying to get their original idea of what the product should look like out the door. The payoffs of that is, lower development time, right? So it's the same thing as Ray said, right? From in the from a student's perspective, right? So you're focusing less of your time trying to build this major product or this major feature or this major idea. You're lowering your development cost because you're not trying to push out the whole idea at the same time. Instead, you're letting the data dictate how where you could add major value to the people that use your application. And basically, you learn as you go, right? So when you start a new project or a new product, you don't know everything about that specific domain, right? So as you build out smaller applications and you start out with smaller tasks, you kind of become an expert at those tasks, and you gather all the context that you need in order to actually build a successful product. The trade-offs, challenges with that is that you might not build the perfect product that was in your mind originally. In fact, it might be very different from what you originally thought based on the user data that you've gathered. You might miss the killer feature that makes your product sticky or really take off. But it will eventually get there as well, right? As you look at the user data and how people are using the application. And it's analytics heavy, right? So you kind of have to go into it with like an analyst's mind and be able to know what kind of information is useful to track in order to gather the feedback and the information that you need to be able to build a better product.
Okay.
Excellent. Should we move on?
Yep.
Okay.
User interface. So there used to be a time where basically you'd be able to just lay out a user interface for one single screen and it would work just fine, right? Nowadays we have all kinds of iPhones with all different screen sizes. You have iPads. You have software that's supposed to run on desktop and on mobile devices as well. So the ability to build user interfaces that adapt to different screen sizes, that resize automatically, that look good on every screen resolution, that's very important. Usually, when doing this in practice, what we'll do is we'll actually look at data for what the usage stats are for every single device. And if it's too much effort to support a much smaller screen size or a really edge case, then that effort might not even be worth supporting. Looks great on every device. Careful thought given to image and assets used in effect when scaling to multiple devices. So basically, when you're coming up with a design, stuff like gradients might not adapt properly, or large background images might not adapt properly to different screen devices because of the aspect ratio. So basically like the width versus the height of the image. So that's something to take into account when you're designing a user interface.
Okay, thank you.
User design, basically, some good practices around user design, localize what would have been set through text using icons and images. We live in a world where people speak, multiple languages. So any effort that you can make to explain what your app does or what a button does through images is much better than having to localize your application or the text in your application to basically every single language. Otherwise, you need to hire translators and whatnot just to get an app to work across the world. Common style across the app. So basically, like, not make your app look like a circus, right? Like you make fonts common across the application. You use the same font styles, font heights, colors, and hues across the application. Separation of concerns by building a UI framework. So one way to achieve that is by building out a framework for your UI components. So basically, you could have all your buttons, all your labels, or all the text stylings in that framework and be able to reuse it across the application. So when there's a new proposal for a new type of button, you could basically look in that framework and say, oh, we already have that component, so why would we create a new one? Or so it lets you standardize your application throughout every screen. And platform-specific components, right? So there's a trend sometimes that I've seen is that designers are mainly iOS heavy or Android heavy, so they tend to focus their designs on one single platform. When all platforms work differently, right? And all platforms might have subtle changes in the styles and designs. So being able to adapt and design specifically for each platform is a major advantage when building out your user design.
Hey, Abe.
Yep.
Quick question. What would you recommend for teachers when, I know kids get to learn the foundation of programming and, designing, but what would you think would be a valuable takeaway for teachers to focus in on in building that kind of mindset for developers, maybe for industry?
I think the idea of creating components
Okay.
would really help, right? Like reusable components. That way you're not basically, recreating the wheel every time you're building a new component. So if you're teaching coding, basically.
Glad you went back and asked about it so we can talk about it. Thank you.
Sure thing.
Are there any other questions? Because I know Brooke has her fabulousness. Brooke, are you ready?
I am ready.
Okay, so I'm going to stop share so that you can start share and you'll have control of the screen, okay?
Okie dokie.
All right. All yours.
All right, so hopefully you guys can see my screen. Let me get a thumbs up if you can see me.
Nope. Yeah, we're up.
You're up? I see Alexa, she's got a thumbs up, so I know we're good.
Yep.
Dan, are you good?
Everybody else is on mute.
Yep. Will, can you see my screen? Will's been hanging with me for 3 days.
Yeah. Ben, can you see the screen?
Thumbs up. Perfect. Thank you, Will.
Thumbs up, Ben. You got it. Okay, good.
All right. So here we go. We are going to have a conversation. You know that NFTE is founded on PBL, right? And so I just kind of wanted to take a section and start pulling it out so we can dig into it. As you can already tell, I enjoy conversations with people. So this is super awesome for me because it's like 42 new friends. So I have conversations with friends. So if you guys don't mind, I will ask you to drop something down in the reflection or drop a comment down just to make it more interactive so I can kind of gauge where we are and, you know, see what time looks like for us. So if we do the same old thing, we'll get the same old results. What does that mean to you? So give me an idea of how the same old thinking has gotten you the same old results in your class. So I'm going to stop sharing, just drop me down a word, and we'll see where we are. "30 seconds. All right, I'm counting down to 15 seconds. No new creativity. That's a good one. Tell me what that one means, Charlene. Charlene, are you on?
I'm here. I just couldn't get it unmuted, but I'm back now.
Perfect. I thought we lost you. So
No,
that was a good one.
no,
Tell me what that means.
It just, you know, you just got to change with time. Things change and times change, and you just got to roll with it.
So how do we feel about change?
I mean, you know how people are with change.
Yeah.
I'm not going to talk about politics or religion, but, you know, there you have it right there.
All right. So Ms. Gwendolyn said, this comment makes me think about Blockbuster versus Redbox. Absolutely. Blockbuster versus Redbox. One of them, you know, had a little difficulty with recognizing an opportunity, right? Or changing with the times, being aware of their surroundings, being able to take risks. So it definitely reminds me, great analogy to that one when you start thinking about it. Let me see. Michael, Mr. Green says, not changing with an evolving world around us. Help me understand that one a little bit. And you cannot use Ms. Gwendolyn's idea about Redbox or Blockbuster.
But it was brilliant.
It was though, so you can't use it.
Well, I mean, I think probably a perfect example is how the industry of cybersecurity wasn't there when we were in school.
Yeah.
And,
That's another one. Woo! Woo!
just making sure that we don't teach in a bubble, because it's real easy to do that and not be aware of what's going on and what the world is expecting of our kids once we hand them the diploma. So we have to make sure that they're ready for this world and really the world that's coming tomorrow, rather than, you know, them currently being in our classrooms now as a sophomore, junior, but there's something coming, cutting edge around the corner that we aren't really aware of or not paying attention to. So, you know, we just got to change up our methods of teaching sometimes to kind of mirror what's going on in the world around us.
And that is an excellent point. I think Miss Moore, Tamala Moore said it best when she said, wake up everybody, time to teach a new way. And so really when we look at it, that's what we are doing as we reach for NFTE and we reach our students through project-based learning, right? So really shifting then how we fundamentally teach and our approach to teaching and learning as we are developing 21st century leaders that are well equipped for college, career, and life ready. So then the question becomes, what does a college, career, and life ready student look like? So Miss Edwards, Marie, tell me what you think a college and career and life ready student looks like. Come on, my Florida girl.
I had to look to see how to unmute myself. So I also have a unique program at my school that I'm in charge of, and I would say a college and career ready student is one who knows how to, I'm going to use an old school term, balance their checkbook. So we don't typically have checkbooks anymore, But I think that's one thing that students learn through this class, learning how to manage their money. Because that's something that a lot of times students walk away from school not knowing how to do, and then they get out there and learn by mistakes, by making mistakes. So managing their money, knowing how to set a budget, understanding the timing of cash flows, because that's something very important when you're running a business. You might order something but not sell it quick enough to pay that supplier. Yeah, just basic money management. I feel that's something that they get an experience with in this class.
And so, Karen, what does a college and career life ready student look like to you?
Hi, am I on?
You are.
Okay. First time I used the Zoom stuff, and this is a perfect example. Just being ready to go with new technology, new ideas. They need to be able to roll with the quick changing world we have out there. So getting them as prepared as possible for change.
I agree. I 100% agree. And so when we're looking at that and we're thinking about it again, we entered with project-based learning, right? So why do we love project-based learning? I mean, we've all probably heard about it. There are 45 of us on this call right now. Why is project-based learning so awesome? Steve, tell me why project-based learning is so awesome.
I think so. Okay. And that's what they live for, to put it into practice. We bring in a lot of business leaders to come be coaches. We'll break them up into teams. Our one we're about to start, they have to come up with a new revenue stream for a Fortune 500 company. And so they had like Toyota, small passenger planes or things like that. And they, and it's a competition within the class, but that's it. And we try to bring in as many business leaders to lead it and coach it and really help start their network.
So why does that make your classroom stand out? Doing that
because most of the time, I mean, they really see that, man, this is something I could do. It's tough in an English class or not to pick on English teachers, but that's harder to really give them a vision for what they're going to do in the future. And this is something they're actually coming up with, something unique and different, and helps their value proposition in interviews and such.
And I think that's extremely important to know. So when we're looking at project-based learning and we're looking at the PBL cycle, right, we see all of our key elements up here that makes a true PBL. And as we are embracing those and as we become more authentic in our projects that we're giving students, again, giving them those interaction and those touch points where they can put their fingers in their hands and make tangible their expectations for what tomorrow, to Michael's point, will look like when they get into college. The better off we are in preparing them and the more engaged they become in our classes, and subsequently the more they become engaged in their other classes, right? So like their core classes. It's hard for me to say that because I actually consider my class a core class for them, but you know, that's another story. We'll just keep it moving with that one, right? So for us, understanding that PBL is rooted in acquiring knowledge and key knowledge, understanding, and success skills. So when we think about that, those success skills are really important to how students are developing themselves and cultivating relationships around them. So keeping in mind then that we are approaching project-based learning, it's not the same thing as us just doing projects. So we're looking at it from a traditional standpoint, and now we're entering project-based learning through a unit. Someone talked on the lesson cycle. They asked the question, where does this go? How long is this extended out? How can I extend it out? Well, we're looking at it, we're giving them activities to make learning relevant for them and doing it again within the context of authenticity for them. And I apologize because the transition from my screen to this screen moved some of the letters around, but you understand the point. So project-based learning for us then is this new way of thinking, and we want to make sure that everybody is solid on how they understand and they interact with the different elements. And today I really wanted to focus on what critique and revision looks like, which is super important for students to be able to do some type of reflection as we are going through their projects. And not only reflection, but then giving them an opportunity to revise their knowledge and to show mastery in different areas as well. And so what you're looking at, and we'll send everyone a presentation copy, what you're looking at is moving from a new workflow then of what project-based learning looks like. And so for us, we're focusing more today on the critique and the revise section of what that looks like as well. And
about that one.
Yes.
So this is an awesome segue, and his presentation is right on the money for what I'm going to talk about. If you guys look at all of this, I always say when you solve a problem and you create a solution, solutions create more problems, because what we have in the market space is more applications that are supposed to make us more efficient, more collaborative. And in essence, it sometimes is barriers for projects and communication, because everyone will latch onto a Slack or some other tool base, and that's the world they live in. And so even though we have a lot of tools in the marketplace, it's a segue into my session. So you can go back to mine now. And so where I think we need to look at from an education standpoint is teaching folks how to think. I don't know if that's my slide. Hold on.
Yes.
Am I controlling it or you?
No, she Carmen is. So.
Okay, so go back one.
One back.
Yeah, so transferable. So I teach hackathons and I lead hackathons, and one of the things we talk about is a sustainable workforce and teaching transferable skills, meaning not necessarily to a particular job, but teaching the young kids how to think, how to process, how to problem solve. That's something that can be transferred or transferable regardless of what discipline they end up taking in the job role. The other thing is change, and change comes from significant discomfort, right? And a vision for where you want to be to get you out of that discomfort. And it usually starts with small steps, right? So change is one of those things that we're trying to do, not just at academia, but the young folks are trying to figure out where they want to go. And then the workforce on the receiving end is trying to figure out what they're doing first to move themselves forward and still be relevant for the next job force. Data is currency. I can't say it more enough. We're putting out so much data, more than we have ever done before, on a voluntary basis, that whoever can mine that data better than anybody else, it's really going to tell the story for how you're going to drive your business, how that information actually comes back into academia, how you guys are using it to curate and to help the students make decisions that ultimately going to help them in their future. And again, data to solve the problem. Data is the key. I don't care what you're doing, if it's education, if you're, whatever it is, whatever discipline, whether, you know, in the workforce today, data tells you where to go. We can go to the next slide.
Now, Leon, before you jump into the next slide, maybe you could introduce your back, a little bit about your background, what you do, stuff like that.
Sure. So, born in the Virgin Islands, I left and went to the military right out of high school. Ray and I went to school together here in the Virgin Islands, and so very driven. I was in the Navy. I got out and I started working for a lot of companies, first as an analyst and then becoming a software developer. And now I run a company called Nerix, and we help companies build their application software, whether it's data-driven, analytically driven, and soon to be AI-driven solutions. I've been doing that now for the last 20 years. I do host hackathons, so I have a very close tie to the University of the Virgin Islands. Ray knows that, where I see there's a gap between, even when we release the students with their college degrees in the business, even if it's business or the sciences, there still is a gap between where they think they are and where they can pick up in the workforce. And so I think that's critical that we all kind of work together in order to make sure that we can have these transferable skills.
Perfect.
They can be on anything. I mean, you guys are reading the slide. There's probably some things that are left out here. Business students, business strategy, leadership management. Every one of these you see here is really teaching them how to take complex problems or situations and break them down into pieces that they can address specifically. I have folks even today as software developers who struggle with a lot of these touch points, and it creates a lot of issues in the workplace because they're feeling like they're being attacked, especially the millennials. They wear their emotions on their sleeves, and they get frustrated when something breaks and it doesn't work normally. And then to the gentleman's point, you have the others who are always looking to break things and figure out how can we do things better. And we need more of those mindset. Time management, work ethic. We got to teach work ethic. It just depends on your geographic. Some do, some don't. But you have really everything here is what we're trying to do is get them to think critically. And then these skill sets that are listed here can be applied to just about any job function, and especially more so now in the entrepreneurial world.
Good, good.
We could go to the next slide if
Next
there's
slide,
no.
come in. Okay, she's gonna. Next slide.
Nope. I don't think I could click it. Okay. They always say everything starts with the first step, and so breaking down, especially in software programming or entrepreneurial or critical thinking exercises, you have to first figure out what the problem is. And a lot of times we focus on what we see right in front of us. So you have a bottle of water and the problem is you can't get the cap open, but that's not really the problem. The problem is you're thirsty, right? And so it's really having kids think long down the pipeline as to what the real problem is, and then you can address that with real solutions. If not, we bang our heads against the wall for a pretty long time. And then figuring out how to use those critical skills, like in Ray's, I was in another breakout session where they were talking about Ray's lemonade exercise. And I laugh because it's so true. Sometimes throwing more resources at something doesn't actually make it work better. And so figuring out how to break these down, giving them the skill sets that they can use in a repetitive way. And I was just at a conference and a guy from Facebook said that they break down all their problems in three categories equals change. You have to have enough discomfort, vision, and small steps. And if you take those three things, you'll equal change. And so what I'm showing you guys here in these 10 steps, and they can be shuffled, they can be less, they can be more. It's really the biggest thing is first identifying the problem and then showing the kids or teaching them through exercise and practice makes perfect, how to put those skill sets into breaking them down and then building them back up to have a solution.
It's good. Good. Next slide.
Any? Then the next one is.
I think it's data.
And so, I live in a world. Yeah, data. So I live in a world now where data is the currency. Every company.
Audio went out.
I think he froze up.
Yeah, his connection went bad, right?
Okay. All right, so we're gonna.
That's at Bell South.
We're gonna bring him back in. So I'm gonna go ahead and switch to the top. Carmen?
Yep, I'm going.
Okay, cool. Now, teachers, did you find that that information valuable? Something that you can take back, maybe have better understanding moving forward? And what you're doing is definitely making an impact for kids getting ready for.
And I'm back if you want to ask any questions. I'm sorry. Yep.
Okay, go ahead.
So yeah, I know that the connection here is up and down. Really and truly, the data is what tells the key today. Most of the clients I have or projects I have, they're all driven around data.
We lost him again?
Yeah. In and out. Okay, so let's bring it up on my to the top.
Okay.
Now, teachers, while before we transition into having fun with the codes, was that information anyone like to share? Anything like stuck out? Somebody saying something?
No, nothing.
Okay.
In my house.
Okay, cool. So let's go ahead and transition into how can we build a culture, the entrepreneur mindset, which is basically the key to the whole thing. There's an article that came out. I'm going to share the article with you guys. Talked about the fourth industrial revolution, and the key mindsets that they're talking about is everything that's centered around the entrepreneur mindset. Very interesting. So I share that article with my class, and then it's like their minds start like, whoa, okay, I see the connection. So what I'm trying to do, and I'll share with you, is that I try to make the coding process very fun, easy, engaging, so that your kids are using all the mindsets. For example,
it doesn't look exactly like this yet. And so they didn't look at this and say, good, Austin, you're done. They said, Austin, good start. Now we can start giving you critiques so you can do a second draft and make it better, and a third draft and make it better, and you can make it much, much closer to this. And he was ready to go. All of the first graders in his critique group sat on the floor like you guys are, and they decided to split their advice into two kinds. First, just the shape of the wings. And then when the shape was right, they'd give him advice about the pattern inside the wings. Alia, what would you say?
We can make it much pointier.
Good. These wings could be much pointier. Who else would add something? Atak, what would you say?
About the angle, because not to be mean about the angle, it's just not exact. So
okay, so show me. Come on up here, Atak. Show me what you would ask him to do slightly different.
like to make it a little longer.
Longer where? Draw where you would do it.
Right there.
Okay, so pull this out longer.
Yeah.
That's very specific, Atak. Thank you. Jamila, what would you say?
It's like triangle.
Good. Jamila, I love that. So you're saying more like a triangle shape. And I agree. Well, you know what? Those first graders came up with most of those same ideas. And you know what Austin said? He said, okay, I'll do that. And he went back to his seat and he drew this. Does this look more like a triangle? Yeah. Did he go out further, like Atak was suggesting?
Yeah.
Did he add some jaggedness here?
Yes.
Like Cindy, did he get rid of that bottom thing?
Yes.
So he did listen to his friends and he made it better. It's not perfect. Toby, what would you say?
I'd say don't put those little shell things so pointed in. I'd say put them more pointed down.
Good. Okay, Ethan, what would you say?
I think you should make the wings like this, not like.
All right, so that was Austin's final presentation. Yay, Austin. All right, so looking at that video, we can see the critique process being modeled for students and how they're engaging in the critique process to aid in student revision. And if we can do it at an early age, we can definitely do it with the students within our classroom. Not one of the comments that the students gave left students without their dignity or did not benefit the student in terms of being specific and direct. And so looking at it, we can apply skills from the modeling session to our own classrooms and engage in dialogues and protocols with our students that will enable them to give stronger critiques and provide students with relevant feedback on projects as we're engaging them throughout our classes. So one of the things that I also wanted to make sure that I shared was a critique protocol, and there are two critique protocols in which we normally fall within. So we normally fall within gallery walks and consultancies. for critiquing student work. And so helping them to develop their own work and their own ideas. And I want us to just kind of look at that very quickly within like the next minute.
Paris YouTube channel. All this is on the YouTube channel. All the videos.
And this PowerPoint is also available for you through the Google Slide, through a Google Drive.
But at the end of the day, guys, it's about building that excitement, making it relevant so they can see the connection. The guest speakers that we brought on was basically to show that what we do in class makes a difference because those skills are transferable into industry. We're going to send you some videos that I use in the beginning to get our kids inspired and motivated, because like for my do nows, we actually put those in and it changed the mindset. Been doing it for 22 years and I'm seeing kids, their energy level, you have to do a little extra to get them engaged and motivated. So little activities like the code game challenge, the kids get to share, they took risks, they got up, they work as a team. The video is pretty good. You got to see it at the end. It was nice. So I share all that with you guys. Any questions?
And for teachers who are really starting off with all of this coding, one of the things that I do, and again, I do with my 6th graders and it works great, I do the MIT tutorials first. So we'll do the Martin Luther King, we'll do the mole mash, we'll do the paint pot. I let them pick whatever pictures they want to put. They don't have to actually follow that just to a T so that they can have their own creativity into it. But by having them do those 4 or 5 short lessons on creating a basic app and testing it out in the classroom, then they feel more confident about starting and doing their own, because they have some skills on what it should look like and how to build and move those codes around. So that's a great start for me to give them a little opportunity to just test them out. You get an A for effort for completing it. And then I always tell them, use those codes that you learned and how are you going to apply it in your business, in your app.
Perfect. Carmen, you mind just go to the next slide?
Sure.
Okay, guys, this is a good resource that I've been using. It's called Solo Learn, and it allows you to learn, like your kids, the advanced kids can actually set up an account, and it gives them a crash course on how to.
Or I'm going to pass it to Jeff to take us to the scavenger hunt.
Really quick, just want to jump in really fast. I know we said 6:30. We're probably going to go over about 5 to 10 minutes. Instead of scavenger hunt, Jeff is going to take us through a quick tour of Canvas, identifying how you guys can register your students and access the assessments. And then we can send more details via email to you all, for we won't hold you guys up. But I think this part is very critical and important for you all. Thanks, guys.
Trying to share it, right? I'm trying to get my Canvas.
Next one, the next slide real quick. You can scroll. Now, guys, we're going to have this PowerPoint available, but one of the things is 4 key concepts to programming. And once you understand that and your kids understand that, you have your loops, you have your functions, it makes your life easy. And, you know, it's a step-by-step with the conditions. So we're going to share this later for you guys, but you will have access to this and all this data information.
And then we're going to end our session with, refurbished codes. There's plenty of codes out there. MIT has a whole gallery of apps that have already been created. So that's another way you can also have the students analyze what coding is on those apps and how it functions, and then be able to say, how can I apply those into my designs?
Perfect. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, so I think we're about ready for Chris to come back.
All right. What's going on, everyone?
Hey, Chris.
I hope you guys enjoyed our first very large-scale virtual PLC. I think I'm getting a lot of thumbs up on it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We're going to be sending out a survey real soon to get feedback from you all. So whatever feedback you guys can provide, that would be great, because we want to make this better for you guys as we progress throughout the year. We'll be having, I believe it's one more virtual right after the new year. And then after that in March, we're going to have a physical. But the ones that are from like North Carolina and Hillsborough and maybe a few other places, we will be having physical sessions with Lamar. Will be facilitating those by your region. So we'll have another virtual, and then you'll have one physical session as well, where they'll come to you guys. We'll be sending out the dates later this week. So you guys have that on your radar and on your calendar. We'll send you a calendar invite as well. But besides all of that, if you're a year 2 NFTE teacher, I think there might be a few in here. You guys are eligible for the Model Teacher Challenge. The Model Teacher Challenge is something that Ray won at a local level and a national level 2 years ago here at NFTE for actually showcasing one of his lessons. He provided a 60-minute video of his lesson and a written version of the lesson as well. Now, Ray, I'm going to put you out there because you still owe me lunch. Ray generated about, I want to say that year in NFTE alone, and I am counting your pennies, absolutely, about close to nearly $30,000, including ME supplements as well, and LTs. So Ray did really, really well. His year 1, I think, was like 6,000 at the local level, 20,000 at the national level, and then the ME stipend, which could be anywhere between $3,500 to $6,000 at the time. So you all are eligible for this. As long as you've been teaching NFTE 2 years, you have eligible for the Model Teacher Challenge. Next year, you all will be eligible if you want to fill out the application for a lead teacher or a master educator's position. You know, so we have those in rotating scales. Right now, Alexis Greer is our lead teacher in North Carolina for the satellite schools. So if you're in one of those satellite schools that are not in Miami-Dade, Broward, or Palm Beach, you can definitely going to grow that with lead teachers and master educators. So that's something that we'll give you more information as the year progresses. But Carmen and Ray, you guys did a fabulous job, and I really appreciate you guys for coming on out. And teachers, if you got several emails for the invite, my bad. I was adding people as I was getting new names, and for whatever reason, it kept going out to everyone. And for whatever reason, too, not everyone actually clicked that they were attending. So then that went out to the group as the reminders went out. So there was quite a few. I'll promise I will limit those down in the near future. By now, everyone, well, this is Startup Tech, yes. You guys should have received program supplies from NFTE. If you were in a Palm Beach school, Broward and Dade, that's Daniel Tahaji. Daniel is managing Broward and Palm Beach. So if you have not received your program supplies, please reach out to Daniel and he'll make sure that you guys get those. If you are at any of those other sites outside of Miami-Dade, Palm Beach, and you have not received program supplies, I am your guy to get in contact with. And that's Chris B at NFTE.com, CHRIS, the letter B at NFTE.com. And I will make sure you get your supplies. And it was like simple supplies, like a webcam, USB mic. You all should be receiving a lean canvas banner for your classroom. Not that technically you use it with Startup Tech curriculum, but just in case, a lot of Startup Tech teachers finish early on and want to have their students participate in competition. That's an additional enhancement to your curriculum that you can then add on and have your students compete at the if you have the time. It's not a mandatory.
This is Sade. This is Sade. Just wanted to let everybody know that next year's curriculum, which will be on the LMS, will involve the lean business model. So it's good for you to start playing around with it now. I know Chris Robinson is on the call. She just dove into the new curriculum. She's one of our pilot teachers, specifically from Florida, along with Mike Brennan. And we are going to be emphasizing the lean business model. So great.
Wonderful.
Excellent. Sade, real quick, would you like to just highlight the monthly webinars? Any quick updates you want to add on to this?
Yes, and forgive me if you hear my baby screaming. She is teething and I'm bouncing her on my hip right now. But I just want to say thank you to Ray and Carmen and Chris for this fabulous webinar. It gets me inspired for what we could do for NFTE as a whole for Startup Tech. We have our next webinar on November 7th. So if you guys could attend that, please do. I definitely want to show that video that Ray just showed. So you guys are doing a great job in the Southeast region, and I'm so excited that that you guys are with us. So thank you, everybody. And if you guys have any questions, Startup Tech teachers, feel free to reach out to Carmen, Ray, or myself, or Ryan Kinzer, and we're, always able to help you.
All right. And once again, guys, I'll be sending out the survey link to you all via email so you guys can take and give us some great feedback, please. Don't hold back. Tell us what worked, what we could have did without. This is our first time around, and you guys are the designers at the end of the day, not us. We just
And
hit.
again, I will also make sure to send out the link. I created a form for any questions that have to do with coding so that we can either direct them to Ray or myself, or if we can't handle it, I know our guru Ryan can, and we will get answers back to you.
All right. So Startup Tech teachers, I don't want to hold you any longer. We can kind of end here and you guys can kind of exit out when you want. But I'm going to jump back over to the EE room, and Ray and Carmen, if you guys can join us over there, that'd be great once you leave the room. Anyone want to stick around and be in the EE room, you can, just to see what's happening over there. They're talking about the kind of a walkthrough of Canvas right now and like a mini scavenger hunt. So it's something next year you guys will have access to if you're not on the pilot. Ms. Robinson, maybe you want to jump on over there if you like to, or any teachers on the pilot program at SUT. So it's totally up to you. Yes, sir.
I just want to say to the teachers, keep in mind is those little moments, little success that helps. So you might not have an end product with some of your students, but if they made it to have the wire, they got the concept of certain things, you're building on these skills for next year. So I just want to, thank you guys for what you've been doing. And it's a new skill. And we, for me, I'm constantly learning new things. Using Solo Learn to learn new codes. So it's a learning experience. And I want to thank you guys again for all that you do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Great night.
Thank you.
Oh, wait, I can't get the chat.
Yeah, the chat just basically are giving resources, and people have commented that they love the idea of cutting and pasting. It's just feedback.
Thank you.
I think we're good to go.
Hi, Jeff. It's Kim Parks in Miami.
Hi, Kim.
Hey, Jeff. Listen, quick. Okay, so the EMI, pre-EMI, I've had my students take the test. However, I'm not seeing results. Do I need to put in a ticket for it?
No, pre-EMI, they're not going to. The diagnostic is what's going to be shown to you. That pre-EMI, what they do is they get that email, so they actually have their own results.
Yes, we did see that. Okay, I thought you were saying, so it's the diagnostic. So the diagnostic as well. If I'm not seeing that, do I need to have them retake it?
You should pull up Canvas, bring them to your desk, and you can show them there's no results. You have, a computer trail of that if they haven't taken it.
No problem.
So yeah, just use it to, as a coaching tool with them. Hey, you didn't do your work. Yes, I need it finished.
Well, no, I know, again, this is a pilot. We're kind of beta testing, so I wasn't sure. We actually took a class. This was your assignment today. Do this diagnostic, and so we're doing it, but I don't see the results. And so let me just check it and make sure. I will use it as a coaching tool. If they need to do it again, they'll do it. I just want to make sure that there were no glitches or any problems that anyone was having.
Yeah, and there's other ways. If you go into quizzes like I have up on my screen, the fifth thing down says diagnostic test. You can see that's the only thing I have published right now.
Okay.
You can click into that, and then you can go right there to SpeedGrader, like I was saying before, and then you should be able to see once SpeedGrader's up, who has and who hasn't taken it. With the green check mark, they've taken it. If you want to go and see what Antivia got, she got 15 right. You can click next and next and next, and until you need to go through that. So,
no problem.
Anybody else?
Quick question. I just want to touch bases. Ms. Parks, is that on the Startup Tech or on the entrepreneurship students?
E1.
All right, got it.
And
I see what Jeff is talking about, so that's great. I'm going to take a look at that.
And if you still have a problem, just send me an email. We'll get on the phone, or maybe I can remote your computer and take a look at that.
No problem.
And everyone, Carmen in a little while is gonna post her YouTube link to the videos that she has that she created. There about a minute and a half or less to identify how to navigate to your EMI assessment and diagnostic and how to obtain the results. And then she also has a new video identifying how to register your students as well.
Ms. Besteo, you said you post videos earlier to your website? Thumbs up, you're muted. You know you can go right into announcements and actually add those into your Canvas as attachments if they're video files. So you can maybe stop paying a website fee and use Canvas more to your advantage.
I actually use the Recordex recording.
Yes.
So now that I know we can do it in Canvas, I'm actually going to get a ring light and, you know, become a real YouTube blogger because I'm into other stuff too. But I won't keep you guys tonight because I know everyone's trying to run.
Enable podcast feed right here. Chris, are we done out of this, or you have more? You're gonna close up?
No, I just want to close. So you finished with your tour for Canvas?
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty more, but I mean, I just
Right.
again, everybody can email me at their peril, and I'll try and walk them through any questions they might have.
All right. I won't hold you guys any longer, but I do want to say one thing, guys. I want to say thank you to you all for attending today. This was a historic moment for the Southeast. I really, really appreciate this. We had a total of 73 individuals online with us today. And as many individuals that we had on, I've seen a lot less, 20 and under, with a lot more hiccups down the road. And I think we pretty much did a great job going through it. But we're going to send you guys a survey on what we did this evening. And we want you guys to be 100% truthful, because usually we have these physical sessions, and now we're growing rapidly between North Carolina and Homestead, Florida. So we figured we'd do a minimum of 2 virtual and 2 physical sessions throughout the year. We have Lamar Moses on the line as well, one of our liaisons that's going to be working closely with us in our satellite schools, conducting professional development sessions with you all. So if you're like in Hillsborough and Duval and Jefferson, Atlanta, and the list continues, anywhere outside of Palm Beach, Broward, and Dade, Lamar Moses will be conducting 1 physical session with you all. And we'll be having our other virtual session, which will be taking place directly after the new year. One of the things I want to leave you all with is the Model Teacher Challenge. It's not quite out yet, but it's going to be released, I think, in the next week or 2. And it's critical. If you're a year 2 teacher, please start thinking about a creative lesson you can do with your students and how you can record that. You're going to need a 60-minute video of that session, where we'll have some liaisons go out and kind of review these videos and identify, let's just say, the top 5, and then visit your schools, and then we'll narrow it down to the top 2, where you guys will get a monetary award. If I'm not mistaken, don't quote me on these numbers, I think it's between $3,000 and $6,000 at the local level. And at the national level, the year 1 was actually $20,000 that Ray Paris won. And I think last year they dropped it down to $15,000, if I'm not mistaken, at the national level. So technically, in the Nifty world, besides just your stipend and everything else, you can go home with, at the end of the year, close to nearly a little over $20,000. So go ahead, Rick.
And it's a great opportunity because, you know, I did this one and I also did Miami-Dade County Teacher of the Year. And between the two, the Dade County was so very rigorous. But this, when I did this one, is really, it's pretty relaxed. It's more like, you know, you present it, you did a video, and it's very honest. You know, if it's a good lesson, your kids are engaged, very creative. Now you have to think a little bit outside the box with your lessons. But I think it's a great opportunity. Everybody should jump on it.
Just to give you a quick snapshot, Ray did the Lemonade Challenge that allowed him to win to the next level. You saw Miss Alexis Greer present that earlier. Last year was another creative one. It was a teacher, I forget what city. From California?
Yeah, she had the kids, they went to Baskin Robbins, not Baskin.
No, it was Texas that did ice cream, I think.
The ice cream, and then they taste the ice cream, and then they came up with a new flavor, pitch it to the company, and then I guess they got the company to kind of put the ice cream in the store, and the kids come up with a plan to get money off of the product. It was outside the classroom concept. It was different.
Yeah, so it's critical, guys, that you guys are really thinking that next level to do something different that really showcases the energy that's instilled within you, right? At the end of the day, to actually take that energy up a notch, put some effort into it and create that video, 60 minutes or less. Call your video production team of the school. Every school has a video camera or a few students that are running around videotaping, or take out that fabulous iPhone. I'm not saying Android. I'm talking about iPhone. Look at that. He got the 3 cameras in the back. That right there is your new production tool to your video. Get a little tripod, put it on that.
Yep.
The wide way, not this way, but the wide way. Only have 2 cameras.
You got to upgrade, Chris.
But put it the wide way to capture a full, area classroom view. Or if you have a GoPro, even better.
I'm actually shocked that Chris has not upgraded.
Say again?
I am very surprised that Chris is not updated.
Not yet. I still have another month before I can change.
He's got a camera in his glasses.
I have a question, Chris. If I wanted to do the teacher challenge, do I have to be a second-year teacher?
Yes, it got to be at least a second-year teacher in order to do so. So if you're year 1, take some tips and tricks this year, practice, and then next year is all you.
But
Chris, I would say this, because I did it last year. Unfortunately, I didn't cash in as high of an amount as Ray. But nonetheless,
you cashed in something, though. Come on.
I did. I'm still waiting for a recount, but that's okay. I would definitely tell anybody who is interested, please reach out to myself or Ray through email. We've gone through the process.
Yeah.
There's a few extra things that, we can hopefully make you feel comfortable about doing. It was the first time ever I had filmed myself as a teacher, and we did it in one shot. We, the only editing we did was, the person knocking on the door that shouldn't have been around. Other than that, I mean, there's opportunities there for us to definitely, help you out. And I don't know what Ray's fee is. I know mine is only 10% of any prize money, to help you. But no, I'm just kidding, obviously. But we definitely want to see more people do it. And I would love to see at least 5 from each one of the regions or each one of the zones, meaning 5 from Broward, 5 from Dade, Palm Beach, 5 from Tampa, Jacksonville, 5 from DeKalb, and 5 from North Carolina. I'd like to see NFTE, spend their time and effort really coming down to the final winner from our areas and regions. And hopefully in wherever the summit is this year, we will all be on stage with you to support one of our winners.
Excellent. So, Ray?
No, I was just saying the key is just to start early, guys. Just jump on it, get it out the way before the year we start. Just have a plan in place.
Absolutely. Teachers, once again, I want to thank Carmen Garcia, Alexis Greer, Brooke Smith, Ray Paris, Jeff Silverman, all the NFTE staff, Daniel, Tahaji, Janine, all the NFTE HQ staff that attended. We have NFTE LA that was on. I think they might still be on. A few MEs from NFTE LA as well in the Bay Area, and a few other program officers out there. You guys did an amazing job. I am beyond excited. I already got an email from Jason Delgado saying kudos to you all for a job well done, and kudos to the teachers because you guys were very interactive. The last thing I thought, we can have 70+ individuals online and be as interactive as we were today, and it's only going to get better down the line. So stay tuned for an email survey that we need you guys to be 1000% truthful on what we can change, what we can do better, and what we did right, and so on and so forth. Believe you me, our feelings will not be hurt. We want you guys to be truthful because we designed this for you at the end of the day. This is not meant for us as NFTE staff. This is meant for you all to have the best experience ever. Now that it's close to 7 and we still have 40 people on, something went right. I mean, I don't know what else to say. Something definitely went right. So I'm going to close out on my part. The Melts team, if you have anything you want to leave off with, please do so. If not, we can keep moving.
Where's the lemonade song you promised us?
Oh, hold on.
The link is there.
We're closing with that. Ray, bring it
Yeah,
up.
that's
Ray.
right.
Ray, bring it up, and you're gonna freestyle on top of the lyrics. Let's go.
Okay, it's in the link. Let's see here.
Oh man, I'm recording this.
Before you lose your audience, Ray, they're diminishing one by one.
Oh my gosh.
Come on, Ray.
Okay, share my screen.
All right, guys. I'll see you later. I gotta hit the soccer field.
All right.
Good luck in your game tonight, Carmen.
Bye.
Ray, come on, Ray.
Gosh,
37.
Pressure on
Make
me.
it
man.
rain, Ray. Make it rain.
Oh my God. Well, let me tell you. Let's see here. Let's get you that sample real quick.
Sorry, Ray.
So basically, this. I don't know if you can share. I'm sharing my screen.
You're not.
You share it. You can share it.
I can share it right
Go down to the bottom, click share, and share your screen.
Click the green box with the briefcase. There you are. Now maximize.
Pain and struggle. I can't quit. Keep your eyes right on the prize. I'm sipping on my lemonade. Sipping on my lemonade in the shade. Guys, sometimes we just gotta sip on our lemonade to make it through this crazy world and to motivate our kids.
And if you look to the right, you'll see more videos posted that Ray got out there. So look him up. Look him up. Look up Ray Paris.
Our YouTube channels right here. We have everything you need that happens in the class. Now, guys, definitely you got to check us out on we're on all streaming platforms. How this song came to be, I was in my class and then my students were like, Mr. Paris, you love lemonade so much. You should make one of them Bob Marley songs about sipping lemonade. So I went home and I got a little studio and I went and recorded a song. I brought it back to the kids and they said, Mr. Paris, we love it. And then I just went ahead and put it out. So that's how it came to be. Let me unshare my screen. So that's how the lemonade came to be. But it's online. The link is in there. You can share it. And I use it with my lemonade class. When we do the lemonade project, they actually use the song, so it builds that energy in the class. Kids are singing, they're making their project, and the words in the song is motivational. So we're trying to get our kids to make right decision. If you listen to the lyrics, it's just to inspire them to be greatness that they are. Yep.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Great session, y'all. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, guys, I'm out.
All right. Look, there's still 24 people. Nobody want to go anywhere, right?
What?
Nobody wants to go nowhere.
Oh, you know, maybe any questions?